Whenever you think the Raiders have hit rock bottom, they somehow find a way to dig even deeper. What unfolded in Kansas City wasn't just a loss. It was an implosion, a complete unraveling of everything the franchise claimed to be rebuilding. 31-0. The Chiefs didn't just beat the Raiders. They dismantled them, humiliated them, and left them looking like a team with no pulse, no plan, and no identity. It was a night so ugly that even the most loyal fans couldn't find a silver lining. The season isn't just slipping away, it's gone. And for many, this was the moment that hope officially died. What makes this loss so brutal isn't just the scoreline. It's the sheer incompetence on display from start to finish. The Raiders ran only 30 offensive plays the entire game, the fewest by any NFL team since 2002. Let that sink in. In over 2 decades of professional football, no team has looked this helpless on offense. You can't win in the NFL when you can't even stay on the field. And the Chiefs, ruthless as ever, took full advantage. Patrick Mahomes was on the field for just 5 drives, and every single one ended in a touchdown. 5 drives, 5 scores. That's the kind of efficiency championship teams have. The Raiders, on the other hand, looked like they were running a high school playbook, one that fell apart before it ever had a chance to develop. This wasn't just a bad game, it was a collapse that revealed every deep flaw within the organization. From coaching to play calling, from execution to discipline, nothing worked. You can't build momentum when you're committing penalties every other drive. You can't establish rhythm when you go 3 and out so often that your defense barely has time to breathe. The Chiefs ran more plays during warm-ups than the Raiders did the entire night. That's how bad it was. After the game, when reporters asked Pete Carroll about the offense, his answer spoke volumes. He admitted that they couldn't even get to the plays they had planned. How could they? You can't execute a game plan when you don't have the ball, when your drives last under a minute, when every penalty or missed block kills your momentum. This wasn't just a team outplayed, it was a team outcoached, outthought, and outwilled. The most frustrating part for fans is that this wasn't an isolated disaster. It's a pattern, a continuation of the same problems that have plagued the Raiders all season long. The offense has no rhythm, no confidence, no sense of identity. And that's the real tragedy here. When Pete Carroll was brought in, many believed his experience and leadership could restore order. After losing John Gruden and dealing with the chaos of Antonio Pierce's interim stint, fans thought Carroll would bring stability, a sense of purpose, a defined culture. But halfway through the season, the Raiders look more lost than ever. Who are the Raiders right now? What do they stand for? Under Carroll, the Seahawks had an identity, hard-nosed defense, a punishing run game, and a chip-on-the-shoulder mentality that defined them. But this Raiders team doesn't resemble that at all. They don't play with grit. They don't play with heart. They don't play with any sense of urgency. Watching them against the Chiefs felt like watching a team going through the motions, just trying to get through the night without further embarrassment. That's not Raiders football, or at least it shouldn't be. Some fans have tried to defend the loss by pointing to injuries. Brock Bowers was out, Jacoby Myers didn't play, and a few other key contributors were missing. But let's be honest, that's not the issue. Missing 2 players doesn't explain running only 30 plays. It doesn't explain scoring 0 points. It doesn't explain why your running back Gentry managed just 21 yards on 6 carries, or why Geno Smith only attempted 18 passes. This isn't a roster issue. It's a systemic one. The problem isn't the talent on the field, it's the lack of direction coming from the sideline. Even when the Raiders managed to string together something resembling a drive, they shot themselves in the foot. Penalties, mental mistakes, missed assignments, you name it. Every time they took 1 step forward, they took 2 back. And while fans will always grumble about officiating when things go bad, the truth is the calls were fair. The Raiders are an undisciplined team, and undisciplined teams don't get the benefit of the doubt. The Chiefs, on the other hand, play smart football. They're aggressive, but they're precise. They push the limits without crossing them. That's why they win. There's no conspiracy, no favoritism, just excellence versus chaos. On defense, the Raiders looked terrified. They played soft, sitting back in zones to prevent deep plays while the Chiefs picked them apart underneath. Patrick Mahomes, who has mastered the short game better than anyone in the league, feasted on that timid approach. The return of Rashee Rice gave the Chiefs another dynamic option, and the Raiders simply couldn't adjust. Every possession felt inevitable. Mahomes dissecting the defense piece by piece, turning short passes into long gains, and leaving defenders gasping for air. And now, beyond the X's and O's, the organization faces even bigger questions. What's the future of this roster? Max Crosby is growing visibly frustrated week after week as he watches his team implode around him. Geno Smith, once seen as a stopgap solution, now looks like a liability. Fans are beginning to wonder whether the Raiders traded away their future for a quarterback who's already past his prime. The comparisons to Sam Darnold in Minnesota are painful. The Raiders thought they were getting a steady hand, but what they got instead was stagnation. A quarterback who can't elevate his team and a system that doesn't know how to use him. It's one thing to lose to the Chiefs, they're the best team in football. But it's another to show up completely lifeless, without fight, without identity, without pride. Antonio Pierce's teams, for all their flaws, at least played with an edge. They played like they had something to prove. What we saw in Kansas City was the opposite. A team that looked like it had already given up. And that's what should worry fans the most. Not the score. Not the record. But the lack of soul. Every great team, even during losing stretches, knows who they are. They understand what they're building. But these Raiders? They're just existing. No vision. No unity. No purpose. If this continues, the franchise isn't just looking at another lost season. They're looking at another rebuild, another coaching change, another round of promises that won't be kept. You can't fix what's broken if you don't even know what's missing. The Raiders have cap space, sure. They'll have draft picks, yes. But without identity, none of that matters. You can fill holes all you want, at quarterback, at receiver, at defense. But until this team figures out who it is and what it stands for, the cycle will keep repeating. So what now? Do the Raiders ride this out and hope Pete Carroll can turn it around? Or do they face the hard truth that maybe his approach doesn't fit this roster? How much longer can fans keep waiting for direction that never comes? Because if this lifeless version of the Raiders is what the future looks like, then the problems go far beyond one bad night in Kansas City.